The ground beneath the midway felt less solid, as if the earth itself were losing faith in the existence of this place. Tents that once loomed grotesquely, their colors garish and sickening, now shimmered like mirages, their edges blurring and bleeding into the thick, oppressive night air. The vibrant reds and sickly greens of the banners faded into dull pastels, the painted faces on the sides of the stalls melting away like wax in a cruel sun. The cursed laughter, that terrible, unrelenting soundtrack to my torment, which had once pierced the night with its malicious glee, now ebbed gradually into a distant, sorrowful whisper. It was as if the carnival itself were mourning, a dying beast lamenting its own demise. I paused, heart hammering, caught between fear and something I dared to think was hope. Could it be that the nightmare was loosening its grip? Was the relentless punishment finally losing its hold? As I stood there, the surreal midway around me fractured in slow motion. The cobblestones beneath my feet cracked and splintered like shards of my fragmented memories. Each fracture a painful glimpse into moments I had tried to bury deep within myself. The smell of burnt popcorn and stale sweat that had once assaulted my senses became faint, replaced by a cold, clean scent like winter air just before dawn. I closed my eyes and let the silence wash over me, broken only by the faintest echo of Mira's voice. "Acceptance," she murmured softly, appearing beside me as if summoned by my thoughts. Her pale face was calm, her silver hair catching the meager light as she reached out a hand, steady and reassuring. "You're letting go." I wanted to believe her, to cling to the fragile thread of hope she offered. But what if it's just another trick? Another loop? I whispered, my voice hoarse from disuse. Myra's eyes held a strange, timeless sadness. "Then you will face it again, but this time with knowledge and strength. This time, you will not be alone." Her words warmed me, a small ember in the cold wasteland of my guilt. I looked around as the carnival's twisted attractions wavered. The Ferris wheel's once ominous silhouette flickered, its metal framework losing definition, becoming ghost-like and insubstantial. The carousel's nightmarish steeds that had snarled and bled began to dissolve into motes of light, drifting upward like fireflies reluctant to disappear. From the shadows emerged the ringleader, his tall, imposing figure a dark stain against the dissolving carnival. His twisted mask, once a perfect emblem of judgment and cruelty, now showed cracks spider-webbing across its surface. Beneath those cracks, I glimpsed something unexpected, an almost human vulnerability, a flicker of weariness in his glowing eyes. He said nothing, but his presence was no longer suffocating. Instead, it bore a weight of reluctant respect, as though he acknowledged the difficult path I had taken. Then, from the periphery, the laughing clown appeared, his grotesque grin stretched impossibly wide, his hollow eyes gleaming with malice. But even his form was unstable now, flickering like a candle about to gutter out. The manic laughter faded into a tremulous sob, the terrifying mask twisting into an expression of sorrow. His presence, once a source of relentless torment, now felt like a painful farewell. As the clown's form vanished into the encroaching shadows, a heavy silence settled over the midway. The cursed laughter was no more, replaced by a haunting quiet that felt both empty and full of promise. I was left alone, standing amid the ruins of a carnival that had been a prison for my soul. Yet, in that silence, I sensed a threshold, a fragile boundary between the nightmare and something else. Freedom, redemption, or perhaps another test, more subtle and insidious. I took a breath, steadying myself against the cold night air, and met Mira's gaze. "What now?" She smiled faintly, a glimmer of hope in her silver eyes. "Now, you walk forward." And so I did, stepping away from the fading carnival, carrying with me the weight of my sins, but also the first fragile spark of forgiveness. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, I felt the possibility of light beyond the cursed laughter. Yet, as the last flickers of the carnival dissolved into mist, a whisper lingered just beyond hearing, a reminder that some echoes never truly fade, and the cycle of guilt and punishment may yet call me back again. The night was still, but I knew the carnival's shadow would forever be a part of me, a haunting melody woven into the fabric of my soul. The carnival around me seemed too dim, the garish lights flickering and waning like dying embers. The scent of rust and stale popcorn hung thickly in the air, mingling with the unmistakable undertone of the cursed laughter, low, insidious, crawling beneath the creaking metal like a living thing. My heart hammered in my chest, a wild, desperate rhythm that matched the mechanical groan as the wheel began to turn. With trembling hands, I settled onto the cracked bench, the worn leather cold against my skin. The door clanged shut behind me, sealing me within this small, swaying cage that would carry me to heights I had long feared. The first slow rotation lifted me away from the ground, the carnival below melting into an unreal blur of shadows and distorted shapes. I closed my eyes, bracing myself against the tide of memories that churned beneath my consciousness. Faces flashed behind my eyelids, betrayal etched into every line, promises broken in whispered lies, moments where cowardice had dictated my actions, and cruelty had left scars that would never heal. Each recollection burned like acid behind my eyes, searing into my soul. The carnival's surreal shadows wove themselves into these images, the twisted faces of the laughing clown and the cold, unyielding stare of the ringleader looming large in the periphery. I opened my eyes as the Ferris wheel creaked upward toward its apex. The night sky stretched endlessly, a suffocating void that mirrored the emptiness I felt inside. There, bathed in crimson light, stood the ringleader, tall and imposing, his twisted carnival mask concealing all but a pair of faintly glowing eyes that pierced the darkness. The cursed laughter swelled, mocking and relentless, as the distorted grin of the laughing clown echoed in my ears. "You cannot run." The ringleader's voice was a low rumble, neither cruel nor kind, but resolute. "Each sin is a weight you carry, and here, those weights become unbearable." I swallowed hard, every instinct urging me to flee, to deny, to plead for mercy. Yet, something steadied me. The memory of Myra's calm presence, her cryptic advice, the fragile hope she had offered. I squared my shoulders, meeting the ringleader's gaze with what little strength remained. "I am here," I whispered, voice trembling but certain. "I will face it all." The Ferris wheel paused at its zenith, suspended between earth and sky, reality and nightmare. The carnival around us began to blur and melt, colors bleeding into shadows, laughter twisting into a mournful dirge. I felt the weight of every sin, every failure, every moment I had tried to bury beneath the surface, pressing down like a suffocating shroud. But within that crushing weight, a fragile ember flickered, a spark of acceptance, of recognition. I breathed deeply, the cold night air filling my lungs, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, I sought forgiveness, not from the outside world, but from within myself. The descent began, the carnival dissolving into mist and shadow. Myra's voice whispered again, soft and steady, a lifeline through the storm. "Only by embracing your truth can you find peace." As the carriage slowed and the ground approached, the cursed laughter shifted, losing its mocking edge and becoming a distant, sorrowful echo. I stepped off the Ferris wheel, the night air crisp against my skin. carrying the weight of my sins, but also a tentative hope that perhaps, just perhaps, the carnival's nightmare was ending. Yet, even as I walked away, the faintest trace of laughter lingered, a haunting reminder that some shadows never fully fade. The journey was far from over, but for now, I was free to face whatever came next. And so, the last ride ended, but the story, my story, was just beginning anew. The carnival had fallen silent, the cacophony of cursed laughter reduced to a distant, mournful whisper that seemed to ebb and flow with the chill wind. I sank slowly onto the cracked cobblestones beneath the looming wheel, the cold biting through my threadbare jacket, grounding me in a moment that felt fragile, precarious. I closed my eyes, willing the storm of torment that had battered me for what felt like an eternity to still. The cacophonous echoes of my sins, the grotesque reflections of my transgressions in twisted carnival mirrors, the mocking grin of the laughing clown, they all softened, fading into a silence so profound it was almost unbearable. In this quiet, raw and unvarnished, I found something unexpected. A sliver of space to breathe, to think, to confront the unspoken truth that had eluded me. Myra's presence was like a breeze through the suffocating smoke. She approached silently, her pale figure framed by the dying glow of the carnival's flickering lights. Her silver hair caught the faint luminescence, shimmering like strands of moonlight caught in a web. She knelt beside me, her hand gentle on my shoulder, a touch that carried neither judgment nor pity, only calm. "It begins with you," she whispered, her voice a fragile thread weaving through the cold. "The forgiveness you seek cannot come from outside. It must rise from within, no matter how heavy the burden or how deep the wounds." Her words stirred something long dormant. I swallowed hard, my throat dry, and for the first time, I dared to look inward without flinching. The memories that had clawed at my sanity, the betrayals, the selfish acts, the moments I had buried like poison, were no longer distant screams, but parts of me that demanded acknowledgement. The ringleader emerged from the shadows then, his tall frame draped in darkness, the twisted carnival mask obscuring his face. His faintly glowing eyes pierced the gloom, watching me with an intensity that was neither cruel nor kind but inexorable. He was the embodiment of judgment itself, the living proof that guilt is inescapable. Yet, in that moment, I realized his presence was not a sentence, but a challenge. To break free, I had to face not just the sins, but the self I had condemned. I opened my mouth, voice trembling yet steady, and spoke the words that had been trapped in the deepest recesses of my heart. "I forgive myself." The silence that followed was profound. The carnival's grotesque structures, the twisted rides, the warped tents, the eerie laughter began to waver, dissolving like smoke caught in a gentle dawn wind. The oppressive weight that had shackled my soul lifted, replaced by a bittersweet clarity. Tears streaked down my cheeks, not from despair, but from the release of a burden I had carried alone for so long. The cursed laughter softened into a sorrowful melody, a dirge for the sins acknowledged and the pain endured. And then it too faded, leaving only the quiet promise of a new beginning. Mira smiled faintly, her eyes reflecting a light that had been absent for ages. "This is the first step," she said softly. "The path remains difficult, but you have chosen to walk it with open eyes." I rose unsteadily, the shadows around me retreating like a tide pulled back by the moon's gentle command. The carnival, the nightmare that had consumed me, was dissolving, but the mark it left was indelible. I would carry the weight of my sins, but no longer as chains, rather as a solemn reminder of the journey toward forgiveness. As the Ferris wheel creaked one last time, Turning slowly in a void where reality and nightmare blurred, I stepped forward. The road ahead was uncertain, the echo of cursed laughter a memory etched into my soul. But for the first time, I felt the fragile stirrings of hope, and in that hope, I found the courage to face whatever lay beyond the carnival's vanishing edge. The night stretched on, long and quiet, as if the world itself held its breath. The carnival's lights had dimmed, the tents sagged like weary beasts, and the air was thick with the scent of damp earth and fading memories. Yet within me, a different kind of light kindled, one born not of escape or denial, but of acceptance and redemption. It was not the end, I knew. The path of forgiveness was winding and steep, littered with shadows of doubt and fear. But the first step, the hardest step, had been taken. The carnival that came for me had done its terrible work, but now the torment could cease. I could cease it. The cursed laughter might never fully leave, a ghostly reminder of the past, but it no longer ruled me. And as dawn's first light bled across the horizon, I felt the stirrings of a future unbound by the chains of guilt. The carnival had come for me, but I would not be consumed. The journey was far from over, but I was ready to walk it toward forgiveness, toward freedom, toward whatever awaited beyond the endless loop. Not with the abruptness of a snuffed candle, but with the slow, deliberate unraveling of a tapestry worn thin by time and torment. The garish lights that had once splashed reds and yellows over the warped tents now flickered weakly, their brilliance bleeding into a creeping grey mist that oozed across the cracked pavement and swallowed the carnival's grotesque attractions. The cursed laughter, once a ceaseless, mocking roar, dwindled into fragile whispers, then silence. I stood alone at the edge of the midway, the air heavy with the absence of sound, save the distant rustle of wind stirring loose debris. My breath came unevenly, a fragile rhythm in the hollow void that the carnival left behind. My skin prickled with the residue of fear and revelation, the raw weight of sins once buried, now etched deep beneath my flesh and bone. And yet, amid the desolation, there was a strange stillness of fragile peace that began to settle like dust on cracked glass. The world around me had changed, or perhaps I had, as the carnival dissolved. Shades of twisted tents curled inward, their edges fraying as if being erased from existence. The Ferris wheel, my endless tormentor and confessor, creaked one last time before its metal skeleton dissolved into the mist. The carousel's haunting music faded, leaving only an echo in the recesses of my mind. From the haze, a figure emerged, pale, ethereal, her silver hair catching the dying light. Myra. Her calm eyes met mine, offering the faintest of smiles, a beacon of fragile hope amid the ruin. "You have done what many cannot," she said softly, her voice a balm that soothed the ragged edges of my soul. "The path is never easy, but it is yours to walk now." I wanted to ask what lay beyond this fading nightmare, what freedom could truly mean when the scars of guilt remained etched within me like invisible tattoos. But Myra's form wavered, dissolving into the mist as the carnival's shadows receded. Her last words lingered, a whisper against the silence. "Forgiveness begins within." A chill swept through the air as the shadowy figure of the ringleader appeared, his twisted carnival mask gleaming faintly beneath half-lidded eyes that glowed with ancient sorrow. He regarded me with a gaze that bore the weight of uncountable judgments, a complex blend of duty and despair. "Your reckoning is complete," he intoned, voice low and resonant, echoing across the empty midway. "The cycle is broken, but the burden endures." I nodded, the truth of his words settling deep within. This was no simple mercy, no triumphant escape. Redemption was a landscape fraught with jagged edges and shadows. The ringleader's form began to crumble, his mask cracking and falling away like brittle porcelain, until he was nothing more than a fading silhouette swallowed by the mist. Left alone, I took a tentative step forward. The carnival was gone, yet the echoes of its cursed laughter lingered faintly in the corners of my mind. A haunting refrain that reminded me of the darkness I had faced. The burden of my sins was not lifted, it was transformed, carried now as a quiet weight within me, rather than a roaring torment without. The night air was cool against my skin, the stars hidden behind a veil of clouds. In the stillness, I found a moment's clarity, a fragile hope that whispered of beginnings rather than endings. The carnival's nightmare had passed, but my journey was just beginning. I did not know where this path would lead, nor what shadows awaited beyond the vanishing point of the carnival. But I knew this much. To walk forward, I must carry my guilt not as a chain, but as a testament to the truth I had unearthed. The cursed laughter was silenced, but the echoes of my reckoning would follow me, a haunting melody of both punishment and promise. And so I stepped away from the fading mist, the carnival's ghost dissolving behind me, into a world both unknown and achingly familiar. With each step, I embraced the fragile hope that redemption, elusive and imperfect, was a light worth seeking, even in the darkest of nights. I stood alone on the edge of the barren grounds where twisted rides had once lurched grotesquely against a sky bruised by the dying light of twilight. The air was thick with a silence so profound it felt almost unnatural, a vacuum that seemed to swallow even the faintest breath. Yet, beneath that silence, I thought I heard ether-cursed laughter, faint and brittle as the remnants of a shattered dream, echoing from somewhere deep within the mist that clung to the earth like a ghostly shroud. The night wrapped around me like a cold cloak, the chill seeping through my clothes and settling into my bones. I was alone, and yet the weight of all that had transpired pressed down on me with relentless gravity. The carnival, the endless loop of torment, the grotesque manifestations of my sins, the cursed laughter that had haunted me had finally receded. But with its retreat, a new kind of torment took hold, the haunting ambiguity of what lay ahead. I did not move. The ground beneath my feet was cracked and uneven, littered with shards of broken mirrors and faded confetti. It was as if the very fabric of the carnival's nightmare had been torn apart, leaving only fragments scattered across the earth. My reflection, caught in a splintered shard of glass, fractured and distorted, stared back at me, eyes haunted, shadowed, searching. I reached down cautiously, fingertips brushing the jagged edges. The mirror trembled, and for a moment, I thought I saw more than just my own facile kaleidoscope of memories, regrets, and ghosts flickering beneath the surface. From the corner of my eye, a soft presence emerged. Mira appeared beside me, her pale form bathed in the waning light. Her silver hair shimmered faintly, and her eyes held that same calm empathy she had offered throughout the carnival's horrors. She said nothing at first, merely observing the silence with me. Then, in a voice that was both gentle and enigmatic, she spoke. "Redemption is a fragile thing," she said, her words drifting like a whispered breeze. "It is not a place you arrive at, but a path you walk, often unsure, sometimes stumbling. The carnival teaches us that guilt is never truly gone. It lingers like shadows at dusk, always there, always waiting." Her words resonated deep within me. Redemption was no neat absolution, no clear escape from the past. It was a tenuous balance, a fragile thread stretched between hope and despair. I glanced at her, searching for reassurance, but found only the same quiet uncertainty reflected in her gaze. Before I could reply, a dark shape coalesced in the distance, a tall, shadowy figure with a twisted carnival mask, eyes glowing faintly beneath its twisted visage. The ringleader, the embodiment of judgment and punishment. It watched silently, a sentinel of the moral reckoning I had undergone. Its presence was neither threatening nor comforting. It was simply there, a reminder that the past's debts were never fully paid. The ringleader's gaze seemed to pierce through me, weighing my soul with an inscrutable judgment. I stood rooted, feeling the full weight of my sins pressing down once more, yet tempered by the knowledge that I had faced them, that I had accepted the burden I carried. The cursed laughter, once so mocking and relentless, had faded into a sorrowful echo, lament rather than a torment. Myra stepped closer, her voice a fragile anchor in the swirling uncertainty. The carnival fades, but its lessons remain. You carry your sins still, but you have begun to forgive yourself. That is the beginning, not the end. I looked down again at the broken mirror shard, my reflection fragmented yet undeniably mine. Tentatively, I reached out and touched it, feeling the rough edges beneath my fingers. My image shimmered, fractured, yet somehow whole. It was a symbol of my fractured self, the pieces of guilt, remorse, hope, and fear all tangled together in a delicate dance. As the night deepened, the carnival grounds dissolved further into mist and shadow. The echoes of laughter faded to silence. Yet, within me, a new sound stirred, a quiet heartbeat of possibility amid the ruins. Redemption was no promise, no guarantee. It was an ambiguous, haunting thing, a balance between salvation and damnation that I would carry forward. Could I truly be free? Or was this piece just another layer of the endless loop, another cruel twist in the carnival's design? The question lingered, unanswered, as I stepped away from the shattered remnants of my nightmare into the uncertain dawn, and somewhere, far beyond the mist, the faintest trace of cursed laughter whispered still. The night was over, but the story was far from finished. I sat motionless, the silence pressing down on me like a weight. Yet beneath that silence, the faintest sound threaded its way through the stillness, a low, warped ripple of laughter. Not loud, but unmistakably there. The cursed laughter, the same chilling echo that had haunted every step inside the carnival, now lurking in the quiet corners of my mind. I closed my eyes, trying to shut out the sound, but it clung to me, a spectral thread weaving through my thoughts. It was as if the carnival had never truly left, its twisted echoes embedded deep in the recesses of my brain. The laughter was no longer a physical torment, but a lingering ghost, a reminder that the weight of guilt is not so easily discarded. Memories surface flickering and fragmented, like shards of broken glass, reflecting unfamiliar faces and forgotten moments. The distorted mirrors of that hall of betrayal, the mocking grin of the laughing clown, the solemn gaze of Mira. Each image was a fragment of a past I could neither fully grasp nor entirely escape. Suddenly, a glimmer of silver caught the edge of my vision. I turned, sharply, heart pounding, but found only the shifting shadows. Yet, in that moment, the figure of Mira appeared pale, serene, her silver hair like moonlight pouring over her shoulders. She offered no words, only a gentle nod, a silent reassurance that even amid this endless echo, there might be a thread of peace. Then, as swiftly as she came, she faded, swallowed by the darkness. The laughter grew louder in my mind, a manic crescendo that clawed at my sanity. The laughing clown's grotesque face emerged, the hollow eyes boring into me, its grin stretching impossibly wide. The sound was no longer just in my head. It was visceral, a physical shudder that rattled my bones. Yet, beneath the terror, beneath the torment, I sensed a shift. The laughter was less mocking now, more sorrowful, as if the torment itself wept for my suffering. I forced myself to stand, legs trembling beneath me. Pushing open the door, I stepped into the night air. The cold bit into my skin, sharp and real, grounding me in this moment. The street was empty, bathed in the pale light of distant street lamps. No carnival lights flickered here, no grotesque figures lurked. Yet the echoes of laughter lingered just beyond hearing, a haunting residue of a nightmare that refused to fade. I swallowed hard, the night air thick with unspoken fears. Was this freedom, or merely a pause between cycles? The carnival's physical form might have vanished, but the psychological scars remained etched deep into my being. Could I ever truly outrun the guilt that summoned it? Could forgiveness, elusive and fragile, ever quiet the cursed laughter within? As I walked down the silent street, I carried the weight of those questions like a shadow trailing my every step. The echoes of laughter were a reminder that some sins are not so easily absolved, and some punishments do not end with the closing of a carnival gate. Still, beneath the dread, a faint spark of hope flickered, a fragile, uncertain light that, perhaps, someday might grow strong enough to banish the darkness for good. But for now, the night was long, and the laughter lingered. A reminder that the past is never truly gone, only waiting to be faced once more. And so, the echoes of laughter followed me into the silence, a haunting refrain from a carnival that came for me and, perhaps, would never truly leave. I found myself seated on a cracked wooden bench beneath the pallid glow of a solitary street lamp, its light casting long, trembling shadows that danced erratically with the soft mist swirling at my feet. The carnival was gone, no vanished, as if it had never been more than a cruel dream, but its presence lingered, an indelible stain upon my soul that would not simply wash away with time. I stared down at my hands, trembling slightly, tracing the invisible scars etched deep beneath my skin. Each mark was a memory, a sin confronted in the relentless carousel of torment that the carnival had forced me to endure. Betrayal, cowardice, selfishness, all laid bare in grotesque, nightmarish clarity. Redemption had come, yes, but not as a balm that soothed or erased. Instead, it was a weighter burden I would carry forward. Heavy as lead, but strangely precious, for it was proof that I had faced the darkness within and had not been consumed. From the corner of my eye, a flicker of movement caught my attention. There she was, Myra, pale and spectral, her silver hair shimmering faintly in the dim light. She stood silently beside me, her gaze steady and calm, radiating an empathetic warmth that seemed almost otherworldly. Without a word, she offered a gentle nod of encouragement, a gesture that spoke of understanding and hope. Then, as quickly as she had appeared, she faded back into the mist, leaving me alone once more, but somehow less isolated. Her presence reminded me that redemption, while partial and fraught with pain, was not an impossible dream. It was a fragile thread woven through the tapestry of suffering, a light to guide me through the darkest nights ahead. Yet, the question gnawed at me relentlessly. How does one live with the scars of unforgivable sins, even after seeking forgiveness? How do you silence the cursed laughter that once echoed so cruelly in your ears when it now only murmurs in the quiet moments, a haunting reminder of all that was lost? I closed my eyes and breathed deeply, trying to anchor myself in the present. The carnival's grotesque rides, the twisted attractions, the mocking laughter of the laughing clown all had faded into memory, but their lessons remained etched in the marrow of my bones. The ringleader's shadowy figure, the unbearable reckoning with my own soul, the agonizing acceptance of guilt, these were the things that defined me now. Slowly, I rose from the bench and looked up at the night sky. The stars above were indifferent, distant pinpricks of cold light that offered no answers, only the vast, inscrutable expanse of the unknown. Somewhere beyond the horizon, the carnival had vanished into the darkness, its cursed laughter transforming into a soft, sorrowful echo that gradually faded into silence. I was free, yes, but not unscarred. The burden I carried was heavy, yet it was mine to bear. As I began walking into the uncertain future, footsteps echoing softly on the damp pavement, I understood that redemption was not an end but a beginning, a fragile hope wrapped in the endless struggle to live with oneself. The carnival's nightmare was over, but the journey was far from complete. Somewhere deep inside, the laughter still whispered, an eternal reminder that some sins never truly die, and the weight of the past shapes every step forward. I swallowed hard, the taste of salt and resolve mingling in my throat. The burden carried forward was mine, and somehow that was enough to keep moving. The night stretched out before me, dark and unyielding, but within its depths flickered the faintest glimmer of light. And for the first time in a long while, I dared to follow it. The carnival was gone, but its shadow remained, and so did I. Where once the carnival had sprawled in grotesque splendor its twisted rides, the distorted laughter echoing through the dark space was now nothing more than a mist-shrouded clearing. The fog curled and shifted like a living thing, swallowing the last remnants of color and light, leaving the narrator standing in a void that was both physical and psychological. I stood alone, the weight of the carnival's fading presence pressing down on me like a shroud. The cursed laughter, the relentless mocking echo that had haunted every rotation of the Ferris wheel lingered still. It whispered through the mist, a ghostly breath that slithered around my senses, refusing to be silenced. It was as if the carnival's nightmare had not truly ended, but had instead folded itself into the fabric of my being, a permanent scar etched deep into my soul. A shiver ran through me, not from cold, but from the uncanny certainty that I was being watched. At the edge of my vision, a shadow flickered and twisted, a shape both familiar and terrifying. The ringleader, his tall, shadowy form emerged like a specter from the darkness, the twisted carnival mask gleaming faintly beneath the shroud. His eyes glowing with an eerie, faint light pierced the gloom, boring into me with an inescapable judgment that felt ancient and eternal. "You think this is over?" His voice was a whisper carried on the wind, both accusing and resigned. The carnival never truly leaves those it claims. I swallowed hard, the taste of fear and despair rising in my throat. The ringleader's presence was a chilling reminder that my journey through torment was far from complete. The cycle of guilt and punishment was not a line with a clear end, but a loop, twisting and turning, ever returning. From the shadows, a soft glow emerged, delicate and fragile like a candle flickering in a tempest. Myra stepped forward, her silver hair shimmering in the pale light, her faded carnival garb whispering of faded hopes and broken dreams. Her eyes were calm, carrying the weight of her own partial redemption, a quiet strength born of acceptance. "There is mercy," she said softly, her voice a balm against the harshness of the night, "but it must come from within. Forgiveness is not given, it is claimed, piece by painful piece." Her smile was fleeting, a bittersweet curve that held both hope and sorrow. Then, as if carried away by the winds of fate, she faded back into the mist, leaving me with the fragile ember of possibility glowing faintly inside my chest. But the fragile comfort was shattered in an instant. The grotesque grin of the laughing clown erupted from the shadows, its exaggerated, distorted face looming close. Hollow eyes bore into mine, and the cursed laughter burst forth like a tempest, a mocking cacophony that reverberated through every corner of my mind. It was the embodiment of my deepest fears, my relentless guilt made flesh and sound. I staggered back, clutching my head as the laughter twisted and turned, a cruel symphony that threatened to tear apart the fragile walls of my sanity. The carnival's nightmare had not ended, had merely changed shape, slipping into the folds of my consciousness, where it could torment me endlessly. "You can never leave," the laughter whispered, "for you are the carnival now." The fog thickened, swallowing the figures of Myra and the ringleader, leaving me alone once more. But something within me had shifted. The unbearable weight of guilt, the crushing despair of punishment, the flicker of forgiveness, I held them all in tension, a fragile balance between hope and torment. Was this my fate? An endless loop of cycles, forever riding the Ferris wheel of my sins? Or could the ember of forgiveness kindle a flame strong enough to burn away the cursed laughter once and for all? As the night deepened, the carnival's shadow stretched on, a spectre in the dark corners of my mind, and I stood at the crossroads of despair and redemption, caught in the eternal dance of the guilty, where the only certainty was the haunting echo of cursed laughter that never truly dies. The wind shifted, carrying with it a faint, eerie melody, a tune that was both a farewell and a summons. The endless loop awaited, and I was still riding, still searching for a way off the Ferris wheel. But the ride was far from over. The carnival had come for me once again.